2 weeks ago, Nikola Jokic walked into San Antonio and did something nobody in the NBA thought was possible. He made Victor Wembanyama look human. Not bad, not beatable, human. And if you watched that game closely, you saw something that should change the entire MVP conversation and the entire playoff picture. But nobody's talking about it. So today, we are. For the last 2 years, the NBA world has been obsessed with Victor Wembanyama. And look, for good reason. LeBron called him an alien. He's blocking shots nobody's ever blocked. He's bending the geometry of basketball. He leads the league in defensive impact by numbers we haven't seen since peak Kevin Garnett. The kid is 22 years old and he's already an all-time great defender. But here's the thing everyone's too scared to say out loud. There's a problem with Wemby, and his name is Nikola Jokic. Because while the entire basketball internet was busy crowning Wembanyama the future of the NBA, Jokic quietly put together one of the greatest statistical seasons any player has ever had. He led the league in rebounds, he led the league in assists, he averaged 29 points a game. A center led the league in assists. And when these two finally matched up this season, it wasn't close. So today I want to break down 3 things. What actually happened when Jokic met Wemby, why nobody wants to admit what it means, and what it tells us about how these playoffs are going to go. Let's get into it. If you've been in the comments of any NBA video lately, you've seen this argument on loop. One side says Wemby is the future, the alien, the generational talent that only comes around once every 30 years. The guy LeBron saw at 18 and said, "I'm glad I won't be in the league when he arrives." The other side says it's still Jokic, 3 MVPs, a championship, the most skilled big man who's ever lived, and the guy who just outplayed the alien head to head. Both sides are right about something, and both sides are missing something bigger. So stick with me, because by the end of this video, you're going to see this matchup and these playoffs completely differently. Let's talk about what actually happened on the court. When the Spurs and Nuggets played, the entire basketball world was watching for one reason. This was supposed to be the moment Wembanyama proved he was on Jokic's level. Best defender in the league versus best offensive player in the league. Young blood versus old guard. And for about 6 minutes, it looked like Wemby was going to do it. He blocked Jokic early. He contested at the rim. He used that 8-foot wingspan to make Jokic think twice about driving. And for a second, you could feel the crowd sitting up. This is it. This is the moment. And then Jokic just started cooking. He stopped trying to score over Wemby. He started scoring through him, through his teammates. He stopped posting up and started passing out of double teams for wide open threes. He ran pick and roll, forced Wemby to switch onto guards, and then punished the switch by bringing Wemby back into his own offense. Because here's the secret about Jokic that nobody outside of Denver wants to admit. You cannot scheme him. You can't double him. He passes out of it. You can't switch on him. He'll post up your guard. You can't front him. His teammates lob it over. You can't play him straight up. He'll score 30 on you with his eyes closed. Wembanyama is the best defender in the NBA, and Jokic made him look like he didn't matter. That's not a hot take. That's what the tape says. The Spurs put Wemby on Jokic. They put Wemby off Jokic. They had Wemby roam. They had Wemby drop. They tried every single coverage, and Jokic shot over 55% from the field with double-digit assists. Now here's the part that's really uncomfortable if you're a Wembanyama fan. This isn't new. Every young big man who's been hyped as Jokic's threat, from Wemby to Chet Holmgren to Alperen Şengün, has had the same experience. Jokic doesn't just beat them, he humbles them. Because the gap between being a great defender and being able to stop Jokic, it might not exist. Defensive Player of the Year Rudy Gobert couldn't do it, and as of right now, neither can Wemby. Now hold on, before the Wemby fans close this video, hear me out, because this is where it gets interesting. Everything I just said is true. And also, Wembanyama is still the best thing to happen to basketball in a decade. Here's why. Defensively, Wemby is doing things we haven't seen since Kevin Garnett's peak Celtics years. By the advanced defensive metrics, the ones that don't even count blocks or steals, just his raw impact on his team's defense, his 3-year peak is already the second best in the last 25 years. Ahead of Gobert, ahead of Duncan, ahead of Ben Wallace. He's 22 years old. The Spurs have a plus 15 net rating when Wemby is on the court. For reference, that's basically the same number the Warriors had in 2015 during their title run. The Spurs aren't a contender because they have great players around him. They're a contender because Wembanyama alone is worth 15 points per 100 possessions. And that's the thing everyone keeps missing. Jokic beats Wemby right now, but Wemby is bending the sport around him. Offenses are shooting fewer layups when he's on the court. Teams are literally running different plays because he exists. Coaches are designing corner shooter lineups specifically to pull him out of the paint, and it's barely working because he covers so much ground. You want to know why Kevin Garnett went on national TV and said NBA players are scared of Wembanyama? Because they are. Because when you drive the lane on him, the ball isn't just getting blocked, it's ending up 6 rows deep in the stands. So yeah, Jokic won the matchup, but if we're being honest, there's a difference between winning a matchup and winning the argument. Okay, so here's where I'm going to say the thing nobody wants to say. Right now, today, in April 2026, Jokic is still the better player. It's not even close on offense. And on defense, Wemby is incredible, but not enough to bridge the gap Jokic creates on the other end. But 3 years from now, 5 years from now, Wemby is going to be the best player in the world, and it's not going to be close. Both of these things are true at the same time, and that's what everybody keeps getting wrong. This isn't a binary. The Jokic era isn't over, and the Wemby era has already started. They're happening at the same time. We're watching a handoff in real time, and most people are too busy picking sides to notice. Here's what this actually means for the playoffs. If the Spurs and Nuggets meet in the West, Nuggets in 6. I don't love saying it, but I'm not gonna lie to you. Jokic has too many answers, and the Spurs supporting cast isn't there yet. But here's the twist. Neither of these teams is going to the finals, because there's a team out west that beats both of them, the Oklahoma City Thunder. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is having a season that rivals Jokic statistically. Their defense is number 1 in the NBA. They have the deepest roster in the league. They've been setting this up for 3 years. The real Western Conference Finals isn't Spurs versus Nuggets. It's whichever one of them survives versus OKC. And OKC wins that series too. So the real MVP debate? It's Jokic versus Shai, not Jokic versus Wemby. Wemby isn't in this conversation yet, but he's closer than anyone wants to admit, and he's coming. Let me leave you with this. For the last 2 decades, the NBA has been built around one conversation. Who's the best player in the world? LeBron versus Kobe, LeBron versus KD, LeBron versus Steph, LeBron versus Jokic. And right now, we're watching the torch get passed in a way we've never seen before. Jokic is still holding it. Wemby is already reaching for it. And the crazy thing is, they both know it. That's why this matchup matters more than any stat line. That's why people are arguing about it in comment sections. That's why nobody wants to talk about what Jokic did to Wemby, because admitting it means admitting that the timeline is more complicated than the hype wants it to be. The alien is coming, but the king of the mountain is still Jokic. And as long as he's wearing a Denver jersey, nobody, not Wemby, not Shai, not LeBron, nobody gets to take that from him without proving it 4 times in a 7-game series. So when people ask you who's better, Jokic or Wemby, here's your answer. Jokic today, Wemby tomorrow. And tomorrow is coming faster than anyone thinks. Who do you think wins a playoff series between the Spurs and Nuggets right now? Drop it in the comments. I read all of them, and I want to see how split this is. If you got something out of this breakdown, hit the like button. It genuinely helps the channel. And if you're new here, I break down the real stories in the NBA every week, the ones everyone else is too scared to touch. Subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.